because there is no reliable data, there is no one fixed number that we can pinpoint and say that these many people are living with MS. It's also a limitation because tier 2, tier 3 cities don't have facilities for diagnostics such as MRI and the other tests that are required. But our endeavor at the Multiple Sclerosis Society is to raise as much awareness. We also provide services to people with MS who are registered with us. And the services that we provide is physiotherapy, counseling, home nursing care. We also provide scholarship to children of people whose parents or somebody who has MS in their family. We provide medical assistance, and to a certain extent, we do medical camps and seminars. We help in appointments. We also do informative webinars such as this, covering various segments and topics that are relevant to people with MS. This webinar today has been a very burning issue where a lot of our MS persons keep talking about whether that they have already acquired the skill or they are planning to upskill, but they're not aware where the job opportunities lie. In the past, we have had very informative webinars, but they were more like a talk on a topic. Today's webinar is going to be a little different, where we are, as you know, speaking with two very, very inspiring people that I have known and read about. And we'll try and make this very, very interactive because I'm sure a lot of questions you have in your mind. And the reason why we want to make it interactive is it will also give an opportunity to our speakers today to understand really what the problems of people with suffering from MS really face when it comes to livelihood opportunities or skill development or upskilling. And it will give them a better perspective. Not that they don't know about MS, but it's always nice to get it straight from the person with MS because they, unlike our MS persons, don't have the lived experience of MS. So that's the general context that we will cover and is the context that I wanted to bring to today's webinar. And I would like to tell you that our two speakers are Ms. Vidya Rao, who's Global Disability Lead at Wipro, and Vivek Mishra, who is the Director. Please give me a second. I don't want to get the designation wrong. So he's the Director with Applications and Infrastructure Group at the Microsoft Customer Support and Services Group. I will talk about what all he does when we come to his segment, but I will request Vidya to now take the floor. And Vidya, before I introduce and hand over the platform to you, ladies and gentlemen, Vidya Rao needs no introduction in the disability sector. But for all of you who are joining us for the first time and who have not heard, she is somebody who has made a huge difference to the disability sector because of the attitude that she has. She was also awarded the Helen Keller Award by NCPEDP a few years ago for making a difference and bringing inclusion into the organizations that she has worked in. I won't want to waste any more time. I would like Vidya to say a little bit. Vidya, before I hand over to you, you are looking at people with different disabilities, some visible, some invisible. Um, we are all people with multiple sclerosis. We will be joined by some caregivers, some parents, some siblings, but we are all eagerly waiting to listen to you about your journey of how you started and where you are and what's the difference you can make, as well as what advice do you have for people with MS. It's over to you now, Vidya. Javed, if you could just put the spotlight on Vidya, please.
Am I audible now, Reduka?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Great. All right. So thank you so much for having me part of the MSSI and the larger community that I always, personally belong to. I mean, I personally sort of relate with, right? So living with visual impairment myself, I feel that, so interacting with the folks with disability, be it type A, type B, type C, doesn't matter, whichever the type of disability, it's always interesting, enriching, and there is a mutual learning experience. So thanks for that intro, Renuka. I mean, I won't go into much of the details about what I do in Wipro. Like you rightly said, yes, I do lead the global, disability charter for Wipro. So there are a lot of aspects to it, so how it happens, what happens over there, etc. But today I represent, just me as a person here, like as this is more, I'm going to be talking and sharing my experiences as a person, as Vidya Rao, right? So not with regard to Wipro or any other organization at all whatsoever. So, just to give a quick journey for everybody's benefit. So, like some of you can probably can notice or whatever, like so I have got a visual impairment. So it is since my birth, it's macular degeneration is what the diagnosis says. So which means that I can see things abstract, but there's no clarity. So there are a lot of times that so I would need assistance when I go for a groceries shopping or anything for that matter. The moment I step out, so there is something that I would need some assistance in, right from crossing road or getting something fun, or maybe like so in fact there are interesting experiences about, like, if I have to go buy a pair of clothes for myself, right? So how do I look for size? How do I look for the color? How do I look for, so what suits my taste, etc. So there are a lot of nuances and a lot of aspects to it. But so what I've really learned, so like I said, this is since my birth. So it has always been that, one mantra that has been helping me. So the mantra is that, just look for solutions. That's it. It's as simple as that, right? So that's what I have learned throughout my experience. And then it's constantly evolving. I must say that, right? So let us say, a year ago, I had, figured out three solutions to crack one problem. So today I may have four solutions, or maybe it may have come down to two, but the effectiveness of the solution would have absolutely improved. Say, for instance, identifying the currency notes. By the way, just for your information, my husband is also visually impaired. So we are two of us who live in this house, right? It's not a joke sometimes. You can imagine two people in one house, with the disability, and you'll have to manage your entire show from day to morning to night. You have to go to work, you have to manage your household chores, you have to ensure that everything is going smooth and seamless. It's not a joke at all. I'm sure a lot of you can understand that. So yeah, I mean, so to come back to the point that I was making, it's basically that, so if I had known three solutions a year ago, today I may know four, or it may be even two. But the point is the effectiveness of these solutions would have improved, right? So that's what I have seen. Because why does it improve? I'm always on a constant look for, hey, how can I make this better? And how can I actually, include myself in the larger society? Because ultimately, guys, let's understand one thing. Whether I have visual impairment, or I have MS, or I have any other type of disability, we are the minority in the society, right? So if I do not include in the larger society, within my family, plus the larger, community and the society, eventually, then I won't be able to really lead a happy and a comfortable life, right? So therefore, I'm always on a constant look as to, hey, what can I do? So be it at a personal level or a professional level, like, of course, I do lead the disability programs, but having a disability myself, every single time when I have to, make a presentation to internal customer, external, etc., etc. So there are, 25 odd solutions that, I would have come up with, which sort of, makes me, I mean, look absolutely on par with everybody else, right? So that's what I have always been doing. And very quickly to touch upon the overall journey. So my education was definitely not a cakewalk, because, so I couldn't read the blackboard, I couldn't read textbooks, I couldn't read what I was writing. It was, very funny. I mean, I could write, but I couldn't read ever, right? So of course I could write on an unruled paper, so not on a, book with all the lines and etc. So, it was really funny. I mean, thanks to my parents, thanks to my brothers, and the entire school, and everybody over there who helped me. And then once I started learning computers using different methods, and I'm sure you understand when I say assistive technology, right? So I use a JAWS screen reader, and on my mobile phone, there is a voice, this thing, voiceover enabled, etc. Whatever, any gadget that I use, it's obviously with audio enabled functionality. So now once I started empowering myself, there is absolutely a no look back at all, right? So it's only a constant journey that, so I'm going through, and every time I'm trying to say, hey, look, how can I, okay, tomorrow I may want to learn hula hooping, right? So by the way, I do hula hoop. If towards the end, if you all would like, I can do a quick 1 minute hula hoop for you, right? So when I had to learn hula hooping, I'm like, so the tutor was, Vidya, I don't know how to teach you and your husband, because you both can't see. Well, I said, don't worry. So either the, not seeing has never stopped me by doing anything at all, right? So, I told him what are those different methods and techniques by which he can teach hula hooping to us. And I don't know if if some of you would be familiar with hula hooping. It's one of those visual, sports, right? So, I mean, I myself, I have no clue when I hoop, how do I look, or how does it look for the audience? So my tutor had to, sort of mentor and teach us at every single step, that, starting right from the expression, right from, the positioning of the hooping, the hoop, etc. So there are a lot of things. It's very interesting. So the reason I'm saying is that, so for me personally, nothing has stopped in life, be it even a visual, a sport like hula hoop, or maybe something else like that, in terms of, leading a life and being happy and comfortable, right? So visual impairment is just, I mean, I have ditched it. I don't know what it is. Right? It's something like that. So, because everything is based on the solutions for me. So that's in a nutshell that what I wanted to, share about myself. So before I move on, I mean, I do intend to share a little bit on, because the whole topic is about jobs and, speaking about certain requirements about the job, etc. So before I move on to that segment, so is there something that I'd like, I mean, should I address specifically here, Renuka? Should we take a pause?
Vidya, just to, I think it's too soon to take a pause, but I wanted to tell you we are already getting messages here on the side which says, ma'am, it's amazing to know that you and your husband both are visually impaired.
Right.
And then there are some questions about jobs, but I think if you continue, then after 10
All
minutes.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So, I mean, thanks all of you for responding, positively on the, the topic that we are talking today. So it certainly, encourages me to share a lot more deeper information about the topic, right? Now, so Renuka said that, I mean, when she spoke to me, she said that, hey, Vidya, you know what? We would like you also to talk about, so what does it like? to get a job or to sort of stay in a job comfortably for someone with MS, right? By the way, I mean, only in this context, I mean, I'd just like to quickly let you know about Wipro, that we do have a couple of people with MS within Wipro, right? And I'm happy that I have got a very little understanding about it. I'm definitely not an expert as most of you or Renuka for that matter, right? So I have no clue at all about it, but all that I know is MS is something which is not a very straightforward disability, right? So it's progressive in nature, and it comes with a lot of challenges and complexities. So even before I go ahead and share with you anything further, my deepest respect for each of you who are living with MS and being able to manage with whatever the challenge. It could be A, B, C, or it could be less, more. It doesn't matter. There is nobody who can judge that, and there is nothing, no definition of this is small or that is big or something like that, right? So each challenge that what you go through is genuine, and so it is important for you. So therefore I consider that is something extremely important to acknowledge even before we go forward, right? So I mean, really, absolutely, my deepest respect and kudos to each of you there who are living with MS. And I'm sure you have a lot of interesting solutions that you have figured out, and which I will get to hear maybe towards the end, right? Now, talking about the jobs, or what really happens, let me tell you first. Jobs is something, jobs and career is very interesting, very fascinating for all of us, right? Who does not want to earn? Who does not want to lead a happy life? Who does not want to buy things as they wish, whatever that they'd like to buy, right? It could be a new phone, new TV, or new sofa set, whatever, right? Who does not want to help their family or take care of their own family, parents, and anyone who they mean to them, right? Anyone at all for that matter. So it is absolutely fascinating, and we all always keep wondering, hey, with MS, do I really get a job? If I get a job, is there something that I can do about it? I mean, will my employer do something about understanding my challenges? Will my employer support me really? There could be a lot of questions about it, right? Forget about all those questions for a minute. I want to tell you 2 3 stories quickly. So the first thing, even before the story, I want to tell you and remind you, perhaps it's not that, I mean, you don't know this, but it's extremely important to remind ourselves when we set on a journey like this again and again, right? So what is most important, for jobs and career? There are 2 3 ingredients that we should definitely not forget, right? So when I say ingredients, say, for example, so when I have to make a cup of chai or a cup of coffee, so the most important ingredients over there would be milk or water, or so whatever, depending on the taste level. So sugar, coffee powder, or tea powder, most important ingredient, right? So that's what makes my coffee or tea absolutely fantastic. Now, these are key ingredients for making coffee, tea, tasty and yummy. So same way, there are 2 or 3 extremely, important ingredients which make my job and career successful. And I'm sure you all would have guessed it by now, but I will still tell you because currently I'm speaking. So one is definitely not no compromise at all in with regard to skills. So that's a most important ingredient. Second, which is not anyway lesser than the skill, I would say the most critical ingredient is the attitude, my behavior, my attitude towards the job, towards the way I conduct myself in the larger community, in whichever the organization that I'm currently in. or whichever the organization that you're aspiring to get into, right? So skills and attitude are the most, attitude plus behavior, basically, right? So these are two, three most critical ingredients for a successful job and career, right? So if I have that, then I would personally think that getting a job or staying in a job is not so challenging. Yes, there are challenges, but it can be maneuvered through various solutions, right? Now, what I thought was for us to get a little more deeper perspective about this, jobs, career, and the attitude plus skills, how it plays a crucial role for somebody with a disability. I thought I will take you through a real time story and a real time experience that I have had with someone who had a progressive condition. I mean, I don't want to tell you the name of the person or the nature of the disability, but it's a real time story. By the way, I have worked with Enable India in the past. In case you're aware of Enable India, it's a Bangalore based disability skilling organization. So that is where I have an opportunity. I mean, I have been able to sort of, connect with a lot of folks with disability, including people with MS, right? So from that experience, I'm going to be sharing this story. So for our understanding currently, let's keep this person's name as Geeta, right? So Geeta had a X kind of a disability, and which was progressive in nature, right? So every time that, so I mean, in fact, it was so progressive in nature that Geeta had to be hospitalized, I guess, probably once in 3 4 months. So that's what I have seen Geeta as, right? Now, to start her story, Geeta approached me when I was back at Enable India, probably in 2011 or around that time. She said that, hey, look, I have this so and so disability, and basically it was extremely severe. And I'm like, okay, I'm looking at Geeta and I'm trying to understand. So what can you do, Geeta? She said, look, Vidya, I can do these things, but I have no idea where to go, where do I get a job, etc. What I asked her in the first place was that, so why do you need job, right? And what do you do currently? So Geeta said that, look, I need a job very, very badly because, I'll have to take care of my mother. My mother is quite old, and my family is just me and my mother, because my father has abandoned us. And why the father has abandoned the wife and the daughter is because of her disability, Geeta's disability, right? So basically it's just two ladies who live in a house which is also extremely I would say a lower middle class, or even I mean, perhaps I could even say that someone who's from an economically poorer background, so somebody from that background. So that's what Geeta's condition was. She said, I want a job because, so I have to take care of myself. I have to ensure that given my progressive condition about disability, I need to be able to address those challenges and take care of my mother and stay happy and comfortable. That's all. That's the reason I need a job. But what do you do currently? Geeta said, Vidya, because I have to still survive, and since the time my father has abandoned us, I mean, I can't remember whatever the age, I could somehow study up to 10th standard, and whatever I could study, I have been tutoring near my home. So my neighborhood children come to me who are like say fourth standard, fifth standard, and etc., to learn basics of mathematics, science, and etc., right? And I was absolutely inspired. I'm like, wow, here is somebody, you know what, she already had the right ingredient of having the absolutely the right attitude and the behavior. Because at the age of 14 or 15, if she had to teach maths or science or any subject at all for the children, for the younger children. That I felt was absolutely fantastic because, so she, with her disability condition, she could have been just sitting and, say, cribbing all the time, right? She could have been just sitting and crying all the time. She could have been just sitting and, blaming the world, blaming God, which typically what we do, right? Why me? Why not others? Look, I never did any sin. Why is God being so bad to me? Nothing like that was there in Gita. So what she had was brilliant attitude, very, very charming, I would say enterprising. And she said, Vidya, I don't know, but I want a job. We started the journey with her. It was absolutely not, easy at all. Like I said earlier, that, so she used to live in those one of those low-lying areas that as we call, right, where there was a lot of noise, throughout the day, and therefore we had taught her how to use computers using speech recognition software. Some of you may be aware of speech recognition software, which is one of the assistive technologies that some people with disabilities use, right? Now we had taught her because, so given that she was not able to use her hands, she was not able to use her this thing, upper portion of the body at all. In fact, her neck, would drop all the time like this, and then she needed her mother or someone to, so just straighten her neck always, right? So she didn't even, I mean, she couldn't even sort of, if she had felt a feeling of itching, she couldn't scratch her skin, her own skin, right? Or she couldn't set her hair, her own self at all. So that was extremely severe condition, disability. So therefore, the only way for us to empower her was through speech recognition. Now the challenge was that, we sort of taught her, and we told her how to do and etc. We gave her a little bit of hands-on practice and all that. You know what? When she went back home and she had to practice because of the noise that, so that she lived in that particular condition, she wasn't able to practice at all. And guess what? Do you think she came back the next day saying that, Vidya, I was not able to practice, but still I want a job? No, that was not the case. That's why I'm sharing Geeta's story with you, right? So she came back saying that, Vidya, today I know how to open Excel using speech recognition software. And I actually can type this formula in Excel. I was absolutely stunned. And I was asking her, hey, Geeta, where did you, I mean, how did you practice overnight? What did you do? Trust me, guys. She said, I had to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. And that was the only time that when the place, the community where I live is peaceful. There is no noise at that time. So I used that time every morning to practice speech recognition software, right? And I must tell you, that she is married today, and by the way, she works with one of the top MNCs. I mean, I'll give you the name of the multinational company, but again, I'm not going to be sharing the name of the person or any more details about her, right? Because it's something personal for her and some circle of people that she's familiar with. So she works with Dell EMC, right? She is in one of those very good positions and earns a good money. And unfortunately, she lost her mother about 4 or 5 months ago. But she decided to get married, and she thought that getting married would really help her also in terms of doing caregiving, because she needs a caregiver, full-time caregiver. So she got married, and what I hear as a latest update about Geeta is that she's doing good in her life. She's happy with her husband, and so she's doing good, right? So that's in a nutshell, right? Now look what happened. We spoke about the ingredients, which are attitude, skills, and the behavior. If you notice in Geeta's story, she has all these three things. In fact, I would say she tops it. right? She tops it more than a lot of others that I have interacted with. And because she has the right ingredients, she's able to successfully, identify herself. She's able to successfully voice herself in a large organization like Delhi NC. It is not a joke, right? Some of you may have been working in some companies, maybe it is small or big, but when you work in these organizations where you again form a minority, right? Even if it is, say, you're in a company which has 100 people, or maybe you're in a company which has 600 people, or it doesn't matter, maybe 25,000 people, 1 lakh people, you're still a minority, you and I, in fact, right? So but when we have to work in a large setup like that, in a very, very different setup like that, and then voice ourselves, right? Put our opinions forth, put our opinions forward, make a voice heard by everybody out there, right? It's not a joke to survive in such an organization and such a setup, only if you have the right skills and the attitude, and if you have that solution oriented mentality. I must tell you that. And that's what Geeta had, which is about having the right behavior and the right attitude. Only then we can survive, right? So that's pretty much. I will take a pause here. I mean, I can tell you many such stories that I have personally witnessed, but it's not about telling you a lot of stories. It's about, I want to really learn from you as to, do you really relate with Geeta? And so do you think that you could be one of those Geetas? Some of you may have already been those Geetas, but it's good to know what are your thoughts.
Right, thanks, Vidya. That's very, very inspiring, and I think you said such a important thing about attitude, skill, and behavior, and being solution oriented. So we will shift to our next speaker, Vidya, and
Sure.
after that we will open it up for some interaction.
Sure.
And
I'll stay on mute.
yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
In fact, what you mentioned about assistive technology is just the perfect place for us to segue into introducing my next speaker, which is Vivek Mishra. And as you know, assistive technology and access to software for people with disabilities is something that um, drives us and makes us feel more inclusive. So our next speaker is, let me introduce you. I did mention that I'll say a little bit more about Vivek. Vivek is currently in Microsoft, and he has close to, just give me a second, I'm just going to open this up because it's so rich that I don't want to make any mistake in. So basically, Vivek has been with Microsoft from 2003, and since then he has been involved in leading various teams. With over 20 years of strong experience spanning across multiple domains, Vivek has worked effectively with customers and allied businesses by promoting openness and sharing relationships, demonstrated and has demonstrated competencies. Vivek has been a great advocate, and this is what is exciting to me and to all of you, is that he's been a great advocate of diversity and inclusion, and has been closely involved with the Disability and Inclusion Charter of Microsoft. He is the India lead for the Disability ERG, working with the group of volunteers who are helping make Microsoft India an accessible and inclusive place to work with for persons with disabilities. In the past, he has been leading the Springboard program, which I'm sure he'll talk to you about. I've heard about it. It's very interesting. The Springboard program, which is a unique platform to help and empower women on career break and make a gradual transition back into workspace after a 6-month internship program. Diversity is Vivek. Diversity for Vivek is about creating an environment where every single employee feels comfortable to bring to work their true self. I'll stop here, and Vivek, it's a pleasure to welcome you on the Multiple Sclerosis Society webinar. There is lots that Microsoft does, there's lots that you have to say And I would now like to welcome you to take the platform to start your session. Vivek, it's over to you.
Thank you, Renuka. To start off with, I'm in complete awe of just hearing Vidya share her experiences. And it's a tough act to follow, right? With her speaking so much from her own experience, her own journey. And today, what I have to share with you is more around what we do more from a corporate standpoint, specifically looking at it, sharing experiences around the work that we do, and how can we share our learnings, our journey from the other side. Now, as we all know, technology can empower people achieve more. And in today's world, there is so much that we can leverage technology to bridge some of those gaps that exist. Technology today can help us achieve more, strengthen the educational opportunities, make workplace far more inclusive. And at Microsoft, our mission is to empower every person and every organization on this planet to achieve more. Now, when we talk about empowering every person and every organization on this planet to achieve more, it also includes the over 1 billion people with disabilities. For us, we design software, we design applications, we design services, which are meant to help people be more productive. But one of the things that we have realized in our entire journey is the fact that as we design products, as we design technology, as we work with solutions, we believe that accessibility and inclusion are going to be essential for delivering on our mission to empower every person and every organization. So we are on this journey to continue and learn and share what we have been doing as organizations. My job in Microsoft, I work in the support wing for Microsoft, and I've been with them for over 17 years. One of the other things that I do, apart from leading the support business for developer support in Microsoft, is I also am the ERG lead, which is the employee resource group for inclusion of people with disabilities. And it is my job to ensure that I create an environment where, as we build a more accessible workforce, as we build a more diverse workforce, there is a bit more awareness amongst our employees, that they're a bit more sensitized around why should we have a more diverse workforce. Now, one of the things that has changed over the past 10, 15 years, accessibility is something that every organization has been wanting to do. Diversity and inclusion are things that you would hear about from every organization today. And we all know the fact that if we hire people who exactly think in the very same way, we cannot grow, we cannot innovate. And for any organization to be successful, we need a very, very strong sense of diversity. And the way we are working on this piece is to ensure that we design technology which reflects the ability and the diversity of everyone who uses it. I'll give you a few examples in that entire process. And in this entire talk, I'm also going to talk to you about what are some of the challenges that we have experienced more from a corporate standpoint as we try to create the workforce which is more inclusive, as we create more and more opportunities that are there to build more software, build more accessible workforces, or build more vibrant workforces which are truly diverse. So before I go start off with that, I want to share my own journey. I have 10, 15, maybe in 2007 is the year where I was diagnosed with a small condition. One of the things that I was diagnosed with, I realized that I have a sort of a hearing impairment. When I was working on a call, I realized that if I speak through one ear or pick up calls from one ear, I am able to hear clearly. If I pick up the phone and, if you're on a long call, you tend to shift your mobile from one phone to the other. And I realized that there is something which is off as far as I'm concerned. And I realized that, I tend to do what most of the people do. I try to ignore it for some time. And then I very quickly realized that this is something that is deteriorating, and I had to do something about it. The moment I realized this, I got, I met a few ENT specialists, and I realized there's a huge tumor in my brain. Now, when I have a tumor in my brain, what it was doing, it was suppressing all my nerves. It was resulting into me not being able to control some of my facial expressions. It was resulting into me not listening clearly. And there was something that had to be done about it. And luckily for me, there was, there was some form of non-invasive treatment that I was able to go through. This is called the gamma knife surgery, where we were able to address the tumor and ensure that the growth of the tumor does not go ahead. But with it, what happened is I lost hearing through 1 year. The reason I'm sharing this entire story is because when you talk about disability, disability is not something that is always something that we acquire through birth. Disability can be of multiple forms. Disability can be temporary, disability can be permanent, and disability can be situational as well. When we talk about these three different forms of disabilities, the category I had fallen under was a disability or a challenge that was acquired over a period of time. And then what happened next was when my family got to know of it, and I was recently married at that point of time. What my family expected me to do is to ensure that I do not talk about this to anyone. I do not talk to my organization about it. I do not talk to my peers about it. I need to be extremely hush-hush about it and keep it to myself. And the reason that they said that, this is something that I should do is specifically because the moment people get to know about my discomfort, people get to know about the challenges that I'm facing, the good likelihood that it might be exploited, the good likelihood that I may have resistance or I may face challenges from progressing in my career. And I listened to them. And what I did next was what is called covering. Covering is an act where, if you acquire something and you do not want to talk about it, you don't want to speak about it, you keep it to yourself. And what had happened for me at that point of time, as I ran into this situation, I was finding it very, very difficult to concentrate. I was finding it very, very difficult to distinguish where is any sound coming from. If there's someone who tried to whisper anything to me, I would find it very, very difficult to listen to it, specifically if they're whispering into the wrong side of my ear. As a result of which, I was extremely agitated. I used to be extremely furious. I used to be extremely depressed. At the same time, my own interactions with people were very, very limited. And I didn't want to share what was happening. Now, imagine this from my peers' standpoint. They had been working with me for years. They had not known of anything that I was going through. They just knew that, there's some challenge that, he was not feeling well. He had gone out, he's come back. They didn't realize that what I had lost in this entire period. And because they were unaware of some of these challenges, they would not change in the way they would work along with me. And because I chose to hide what I didn't want to share with others, it created a more frustrating environment and space for me. The reason I share this with you is a lot of times in organizations today, there are a lot of people who do not share about disabilities. Organizations today have progressed a lot. Organizations today want to be very, very supportive. But at the same point of time, it is also very, very difficult for people to realize what does it mean to have a particular disability? What are the challenges that someone might have? What are the accommodations that someone might require? When I started my entire journey in Microsoft of starting this entire ERG with, where we wanted to create more and more opportunities for bringing on board people with disabilities, there are some learnings that we had. as we started, as we started scheduling more and more candidates for interviews, as we started doing a lot of the hiring events, we realized that where a lot of times corporates struggle, a lot of organizations struggle, is the fact that there is a lack of lived experiences where people do not understand how can people operate despite of disabilities. And the only way that we can help in this entire space is to share and build more awareness around what are the different disabilities. And when Vidya was talking earlier today, one of the things that I realized was when we were doing some initial rounds of hiring for people with visual impairments, we realized that a lot of people were not aware of what technology can do. People were not aware about how screen readers work. People were not aware of a lot of assistive technologies. As a result of which, a lot of people make assumptions that so and so cannot do this. As a result of which, possibly should I consider hiring them or not consider hiring them? So one of the things that I've realized in this entire journey as we work we work is the fact that as we work with disabilities, it is very, very important that we also communicate. We share our stories. We share what are the kind of accommodations that would be needed for us as we work towards work towards our own journey. Now, in this entire space, technology plays a big, big role. And at Microsoft, we are working on ensuring that most of our softwares are extremely accessible. And when we design software which is far more accessible, what we have realized is that these softwares that we design become, when you design for all and not for most, it makes the world a much better place. If you think of our products, if you think of our features, most of the Microsoft products that we have today put in a lot of emphasis on accessibility. And accessibility by itself has been a journey which organizations have been adapting. And if you look at the entire journey of accessibility, at one point of time, we used to talk about when you build a software, when you build an application, when you build a service, accessibility was seen as a checklist towards the end. That, is my product even accessible? But today, when we design any product that we use, we design it with keeping accessibility at the center of everything and ensuring that our products are used by everyone. Now, let me pause here for a moment, because accessible technology is, why am I talking about accessible technology and how technology solutions can make a big difference? I'll give you an example of, a few features that are accessible in nature, and how organizations today, if do not build accessibility into place, our products become incomplete. For us, what we have realized is our products would be incomplete if they do not have the entire accessibility component designed in mind. One good example of this is, today when you look at my video on the screen, you would see that I have a virtual background. And I just wanted to share with you, this entire story of how virtual backgrounds came into existence. Today, for Microsoft, Zoom is a product from a different organization. We have a product called Microsoft Teams, which works pretty much identically. And I just wanted to share a story of one of our products and features and how that entire product evolved over the past few years. Now, we had an employee named Shweta who used to work in India, and then she moved to US. Shweta had a hearing impairment, and she would communicate with her parents through lip reading. And once she reached US, when she was talking to her parents, she realized that, if she's talking to someone on video and trying to lip read, it is very, very difficult. It is very, very challenging. And if it is very, very difficult and very, very challenging, what was the challenge? The challenge was the fact that as you speak when you're speaking and you're trying to lip read on a video call, the background can be extremely disturbing. Be it the fan, be it people moving, there are a lot of distractions. And Vidya wanted us to have something that would allow us to focus on just the person and nothing apart from them. Keeping that into consideration, we introduced a feature which was called blurring. A feature called blurring is a feature where only the person who is there in focus remains in focus. Rest everything gets blurred. That feature further, so that is a feature that was introduced for people who had hearing disabilities and wanted to focus on the individual. Now, this feature, how this feature has evolved, is something that I wanted to talk about. One of the things that happens with this feature is as we hit the pandemic. Now, this was designed for someone who had an accessible need, but what we realized is the usage of a feature like this is far more by people who have no disabilities. In fact, when we use, ever since we have gone into the pandemic, we have realized a lot of people do not want to share their background, do not want to share where they are sitting, do not want to share how they are, the lighting could be off. They don't want to share what their background is, as a result of which they have started using virtual backgrounds. But imagine something as simple as this, which is a feature that was designed more from an accessibility standpoint, is being used by everyone else. If you think of narrations, right? Most of our presentations today have narrations where there is automatic translation of whatever I'm talking can be shown very clearly with subtitles. Now, this was done something which was done for people again with hearing impairment, but can be very easily used in so many different contexts. So when we design software which is meant for all and not for most, it becomes something that can be used by all. So I just wanted to, talk about one of the things that we are doing with Renuka's organization specifically. As we move forward, we do realize that, from a technology standpoint, there are a lot of solutions that people can use and leverage technology to mitigate some of the challenges that you have specifically as you work remotely, as you work through applications, and how technology can be that bridge between, and address some of the challenges that we have. As we progress going forward, one of the things that we have realized in this entire pandemic is, as we come out of the pandemic, there are going to be way many remote working opportunities. And one of the things that could really help everyone is if we are able to empower ourselves with the knowledge of accessible software, accessible technologies. Some of the challenges that we run into can be addressed very easily leveraging technology. So hopefully, those are some of the thoughts that I wanted to very quickly share, specifically from an accessibility standpoint, specifically from our own journey. But I would be more than happy to address any questions that you have, and pause possibly there and share some perspectives from organization standpoints as we go ahead in this entire conversation.
Right. I think that's a good place to take a pause, Vivek. Thank you. I had no idea that you had all of these challenges, but thank you for sharing this with us. And you're already seeing comments saying very sad and so brave, and but I think the underlying fabric or the foundation of what both you and Vidya have said is that the attitude, the behavior, the skill, and the problem solving attitude. So yeah, there are a few questions. What I'm going to do.
Hello.
Okay, so this is a challenge. Someday Microsoft needs to also figure out how do we kill the background, blur the background sound, but that's okay. What we'll do is, I have a few questions, Vivek and Vidya. Some of has already come in from our members, and let me I kind of segmented them in categories so that we don't, it's the same question asked in many different ways. So, what we'll do is I'll throw that question to both of you, and we will also get some of our members. If you would like to ask questions, let's establish some ground rules where if you could please go to the chat box and raise your hand. Two participants have already raised their hands. Um, Javed, if you could just track who's raising their hand and make sure that you note the name and then read it out, we'll have them put their mic on because we want it
Yep.
to be a little bit more interactive. So I'm going to start with the first question. Um, so a lot of our MS persons have got amazing educational qualification, have had amazing experience in working with corporates, MNCs, and big companies. And because they got diagnosed with MS, either they were living in a different city or they were living outside India. They had to quit their job to come back so that they have a better support system. Um, and as a result, what has happened is, in spite of having high qualification, good work experience, they are now without a job. And it is a disability which you cannot see. For instance, it will be dizziness, it will be chronic fatigue, there will be incontinence, there will be severe spasms, there will be inability to sit for long working hours. So really, what can one do? It is a very difficult situation, and I do understand uh, it's difficult to find a one glove fits all solution. But any insights on what can be done to either of the speakers, Vidya or Vivek, or both, if you can take just a few minutes to just answer? And if you could point your questions towards or the answers in the direction that should we now concentrate on what abilities I'm left with and then just move ahead and look for a job? What are your views on this? Any one of you can go first.
Can I go, Vivek?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
please.
All right. Um, to me, this is extremely important question. So that's why I am also very passionate about when people speak about the real time challenges and ask me about how do I fit myself into the larger scheme of things like employment, etc. So I want to tell you that what is a secret sauce about that, right? And what, in fact, I have always been advocating, including myself. Now, I'll answer this in two folds very quickly, and I'm sure Vivek will have some insights to share as well. One is that, so now that I've shared with you, clearly that I have a visual impairment. I'm going to just quickly quote my own example here and then also let you know from an MS perspective what can be done perhaps, right? Now, so I have a visual impairment and I have, say, in the context of work, right? I'm working with Wipro and working with the corporate, part of the corporate HR team. And, so I interact with a lot of stakeholders internally, externally, etc. So my biggest challenge has always been is to make a PowerPoint presentation plus, stay in tune if there is a PowerPoint presentation that's being sort of, displayed and presented by somebody, right? It could be your HR, it could be your manager, it could be, somebody, the president, who's talking about how did the quarter go, etc. Now, what I have done is that, the challenge in my mind is extremely clear. What are those 5 challenges or 10 challenges in the context of work? That's extremely clear. So once that was clear to me, right, I have also worked out, mapped each of the challenge with a solution. It's basically you marry the both, right? Challenge and a solution. If you can marry the both and leave the rest, and obviously you educate people around, right? So things do fall in place, and that's what is happening to me. For instance, today So we do a lot of external submissions about Wipro, and sometimes I find accessibility challenge when I have to go and make certain respond to a particular question on a particular website or a portal or something like that, because it's not accessible. But because I have called out these things very clearly and I have mapped it with a solution. So the solution in this case is that so I give the same response in a Excel or a Microsoft Word format, thanks to Microsoft and thanks to people like Vivek. So I 100% vouch that 99% of the time that the Microsoft products are fully accessible, right? So I do that, and then so somebody else takes care of it. Now, what's the beauty about it, right? If you apply the same principle or a same methodology for any challenge to do with MS, right? See, what do I want to know as an employer, be it I'm in a Wipro, Microsoft, or any other organization for that matter, in the context of work, right? How is your disability posing a barrier to achieve the job responsibility that you're expected to do? So that's the very objective way of seeing it, right? Instead of me going and telling my manager, saying that, hey, look, I can't do this, I can't do that, or I have a problem with this and I have a problem with that, there can be 25,000 problems. But if I can narrow it down, if I can make it specific, right? And if I can contextualize it in the employment scenario, I'm done. Right. So now let's again a little bit go a little more deeper with regard to MS. Let's say some of you may have the dizziness plus not being able to sit for a long time, plus some sort of a fatigue feeling. I mean, I'll just for our current understanding, I'll keep these three as the challenges. Okay. So the dizziness, what does it cause a problem for? It causes a problem mostly when you are traveling, right? Suppose say if you're working from home, the dizziness could be probably manageable. May not be 24 hours manageable, but it's mostly under your control. That's what I mean, right? So what about the fatigue feeling? Yeah, well, you don't know when you may feel fatigue or you may not, right? When you would be feeling okay. But if you know over a period of time that so when I know when I feel fatigue, probably I think it's say 1 or 2 days a week. That's what I think I've noticed, and I guess it's mostly in a particular time frame. If there is a way to figure that out, right, then that's fantastic, right? That's again that needs to be communicated. Like say, let's say you're on a customer support role with a particular organization. Now let's say because of your fatigue feeling or the dizziness feeling, which is more or less under your control, but still you know very clearly during a particular time frame, say 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., you won't be able to take those customer calls. You're still okay to maybe do something, some job on your laptop or something to do with your own computer and etc. But because you're battling with your own challenge of dizziness or that sense of fatigue and etc. You're not comfortable taking the customer call, and that needs to be communicated, right? So there is workaround at every stage that you have to map that with, right? And in the context of employment, let us say it is something else. I mean, obviously I can't tell you any other complex challenge that someone with MS may have, but if you could contextualize it in the employment sense, I think more or less can be addressed, right? So that, I mean, in fact, I must tell you one thing that I tell a lot of people and I advocate on this is that, well, guys, see, I mean, if you know your problem, if your problems are under your control, absolutely, then I think you are the master of it. Be a master of it, but not the victim of it. And also, what is the beauty if you're a master of it, right, but not the victim of it, is that basically you know how to manage the entire show from day to from morning to evening, right? Now a lot of times I tell people that so many people have a lot of other habits, like say smoking for instance, and we know of a lot of colleagues want to take a break every 2 hours, but these are things these things are not written in policies. These things are not written in, not given to somebody without disability saying that, no, well, you can take a break or you cannot take a break, right? So just because you and I have a disability or MS or whatever that could be, don't get so worried that, whether I can take a break 3 times a day. As long as you take a break, but yet finish the work, right? Let's say you're supposed to work for 9 hours a day, and your 9 hours is not at a stretch. It may be 3 hours and then an hour gap. It may be, again 2 hours and then an hour gap, etc. Then things should work out. Of course, there could be certain kind of a job roles it may not fit into. That is why, like I said in the earlier, like I said earlier, that marriage between your challenge and the solution in the context of employment is the mantra to handle that.
Right. Thank you. Vivek, in fact, I think Vidya has covered a lot. I have some very specific questions which have come in for you, and it says for Vivek, sir. So can I ask you those questions and then?
Sure.
Yeah. So see, everybody is asking questions like, there is somebody who has said, I like the idea of challenges and marry the challenge to the solution, but I think we also need to focus on challenge and marry the solution, come up with something which is useful, but also how do I map my existing skill to what a company has to offer and where can I find that? So under this section, we have questions. For instance, there are some of our MS persons are saying that we have done a digital marketing course. What should we do now? Another one has said that I have done some course of front end programmer. I lost my job. I relocated. And what should I do now? Another couple of people have said that I'm great with communication and teaching and mentoring. I have data analysis. I'm trained to do data analysis, but now I have relocated. What can I do? And I think these questions are being asked, and we are always asked these questions because the feeling of still being able to be productive, that's just overwhelming. I have so much of qualification. So could you highlight and why I'm asking you these questions is, how you've done the employee resource group. And another question that the two of you I'm posing to is also, a lot of our members are asking, can Microsoft and Wipro give us a job? I mean, it's a simple question to ask, but it's not very easy to answer. So, any thoughts? Vivek, we'll go with you and then, yeah.
So I'll quickly just build on to, the last question and continue with, the segment that you have spoken of out here. Specifically with MS, right? A lot of times it's a progressive disability. At times, there are people who acquire it and, in which case communication becomes extremely, extremely important. There are a couple of aspects, especially when we are talking of acquired disabilities or disabilities that happen to you over a span of time. I think it's extremely, extremely important to also talk to your organization about it, because sometimes there are times where there could be other programs, there could be other opportunities within an organization where your skills could be used. So having a very good understanding of what could you do and what are the different challenges, like Vidya called out specifically around, what are those avenues? How could you change your job role? How could you take up a different responsibility is something that could be worked upon specifically through communication. Now, one of the things that we have observed, specifically in the corporate environment, is a lot of times there is covering that happens. In which case, if you do not communicate, the ability to even understand and work out a solution becomes very, very difficult. So that is one piece, that communication becomes a key. The other part of it is patience and preparation also. Mm-hmm. When I say preparation, a lot of times, when you are approaching a specific kind of challenge, I think it's also very, very important to research about what are the different ways in which you can prepare yourself. In our organization, we have at least a few employees that we know of who had who had started losing vision. And as they were starting to lose vision, one of the things that they did was they worked extremely hard as they were going through this entire process, investing in how do I use the different accessibility features. So that entire time that they had, because if it is something that is degenerative, it is very, very important to use that transition phase positively. Prepare yourself, learn about the different options that you have, because at that moment of time, in that moment of transition, if you are able to use that transition time effectively, remain positive, and it's very, very difficult, right, to remain positive during this time. Remain patient, remain positive, and learn around what are the different options. Our ability to navigate that situation at a point where you meet a more severe stage of that disability becomes a bit more easier. So one of the things that I would strongly recommend, it's not as easy as it is to say it, but preparation and patience during that phase is very, very important. Today, a lot of technology-based solutions are available, and because these solutions have to be customized for everyone, there are different features, and it takes time. The sooner you start, the more prepared you are. Communication, preparedness, and patience are three essential elements for me, specifically as we go through this entire transition, because it can help us specifically find solutions which may exist, but we may not be aware of. So during some of these transition phases, how do you handle these three phases, three segments can really help out. And that is what I would recommend specifically to someone who's going through a transition.
Okay. There are a couple of other comments. In fact, how many people have raised their hand? Do you have a count on this, Javed? 4?
Yeah,
3?
only one person.
Only one
Only
person.
one person right now.
Okay.
Kavita.
No, they have put their...
Now two person.
So I will just take, these are two specific questions for Wipro, which is very interesting, that has come. And Vidya, I'm just going to read out. Basically, there is this person called Fatima who was in Wipro. And unfortunately, she's got a doctor's appointment. She would have come here today and asked the question. But she said the Wipro was very supportive during the time when she disclosed her MS and the initial working. But when she had a relapse, she didn't get any monetary support, and her authorities already knew that she was not covered. So that's one aspect, not covered by insurance and no support from the organization. So I don't know if that was a policy thing. Also that when she had relapsed, she had these mobility issues, and she could not really accomplish the tasks as senior developer. And so the HR asked her to resign. And I think when an MS person reaches that stage, they are not left with many options. And she did resign, and she was a little bit disappointed. So how does a thing like this work? Does it actually get addressed at the ground level? It would be interesting to hear what your perspective would be, or what could somebody like Fatima do. That's one question that's come specifically for Wipro. The other thing is that there was an ex-employee who left but wants to know if he has to join back, what he needs to do. So yeah, these are the two questions.
Sure. Am I audible, Renuka?
Yes, you are.
Great. I think, so, I mean, it's brilliant. The question, the concern is absolutely very, very important. And I'm sorry, that whatever that Fatima had to go through, and then I'm not sure why she had to quit. In an ideal scenario, so she should have contacted me. And Fatima, if you get to listen to this conversation at a later point, so my suggestion, and then using Fatima's experience with Wipro, what I'd like to also educate all the MS people, or anyone at all for that matter having a disability, So it's important to sort of communicate and then look for multiple avenues to solve your problem, right? No organization would want to lose their resources just because they have disability. Vivek himself shared with us an amazing story of his own, in terms of how did he deal with disability and how did Microsoft learn from it, and then still learning all the time, right? So no organization wants to lose at all. But with regard to, I mean, just to say specifically about Fatima's this thing, probably this HR or someone who she reached out to may not, probably the person was not aware of. But we do have a policy, which is about, which is a reasonable accommodation policy, which in fact addresses, and one of the things very clearly called out in the policy is a flexible option, flexible working option, which means a work from home as well, right? So of course, currently work from home is the norm for all of us. Maybe if this had happened, I guess this would have been like a year ago or so. That is when this must have taken place, and that's when she must have been looking for a work from home option. So in a ideal scenario, she should have reached out. Like, and typically, at least what happens in Wipro is that, so when someone declares disability, so they do get an email notification copying me because I'm the disability head. So they do get a notification saying that, so this is what it is and blah, blah, blah. So in an ideal scenario, she should have reached out. And also, see, guys, let's understand one thing. Disability is so much unknown to everybody in the world, right? So nobody really understands that. And some people, those who understand, they only want to sort of look at that in a very patronizing manner. I'll not go into any such details at all. But what I'm trying to say is that, since 99% of the people, especially in a mainstream organization and a mainstream community that we all deal with, do not understand disability, it's your responsibility, my responsibility, to look for multiple other ways to figure out what really works here. That is what I would say. And this person that who said that, who's quit and then looking to come back. See, one thing that I must tell you that so we strongly believe in Wipro is, if you have the skill and will, and you will fit the bill, right? Mm-hmm. So that's simple as that. To me, MS or a visual impairment or a muscular dystrophy or a cerebral palsy, nothing really matters, right? And I'm extremely confident of it. So it's absolutely doesn't matter. We earlier also spoke about do Wipro does Wipro hire people with disabilities? The answer is clear yes, right? So I have no second thoughts at all about it. So it is just a matter of marrying the skill to the job. That's it. If you have, if you can actually marry the skill and the job, that's it. The job is done. There's nothing else.
Right. That's a very important aspect, which I heard you and Vivek also say, and a lot of our members actually say, not today, but I keep getting calls from a lot of our young MS persons who are on the either verge of leaving a job. But when you, as in when Microsoft or Wipro or Dell or any of the big companies, they all have a policy. We heard Mr. B.S. Nagesh, who is the founder of Punk, which employs and trains people with disability. He said, even corporates, and it is important for us to see the other aspect also. While corporates want and have a policy of equal opportunity policy, very few corporates are actually walking that last mile of saying, okay, yeah, 2% of my workforce is people with disabilities. So somewhere, I think, even as an MSSI, which is an organization, we had a wonderful discussion with American India Foundation, where they said that we will be happy to talk to our corporates and tell them the problem of persons with MS. So where I'm coming from is, with you and with Vivek, what can we tell our MS members? How can they apply to Microsoft? How can they apply to these corporates? There is no portal which says calling out for people with disabilities, just like you had a Naukri.com or a Monster.com. There is no portal, or do you know any portal where people with disabilities, invisible or visible, can go and upload their resumes, and as and when the vacancy comes, they are called for it? Is there any such portal or system that you know of that you can tell us about?
Two, three thoughts, before Vivek, shares his inputs. Quick thoughts. If people can go to Wipro.com and look for a career page, you will see, in fact, an entire write-up about disability hiring there, right? We encourage people to apply on the career website, and irrespective of what disability or whatever the person may have, so that resume is processed within Wipro. Second, this thing, this thing, people can share resumes with me, and I shall forward it to there are Spocks within Wipro. So I will forward, but like I said, I will only forward. I'm being extremely honest here. I will not have any further follow-ups, conversation, etc. But I'll connect the both, the recruiter and the person who's looking for a job. The rest they will have to figure out. And of course, Wipro recruiters know that if there is a problem and if they don't understand anything at all about disability, or if there are a lot of internal challenges, they know that they'll have to reach out to me to enable that hiring, or to take a right decision, etc. So and the
Sorry,
third
ma'am.
thing I
Sorry to interrupt.
Shruti, please, 1 second. Please let the speaker finish, then we will allow you the turn.
Okay, for sure, ma'am.
Raise your hand. Please don't interrupt the speakers.
Sorry, ma'am.
Yeah,
I was
just raise your hand. We will take your question later. Yes, please, go ahead.
Yeah. So the third thing I wanted to let you know is that, currently we do not have ERG in Wipro, since Vivek, the Microsoft organization has, and Vivek is part of it, right? And I'm sure ERGs, I'm talking in the context of larger organization, other organizations, right? So the ERGs is one source of channel for MS or anyone at all, for that matter, having a disability, is to be able to sort of send their profiles, and then I'm sure people from the ERG members, so they do have a contact with the other functions, the recruitment function and others, who they can forward it to, right? So there are multiple channels. So Renuka, like I said, of course, I do understand that, so today, at least in India, we do not have one job portal which can address a lot of these concerns. Although I know Government of India was trying to come up with something, and I don't think it's functional yet at all, right? But at least, so through the source of people, the people that you are familiar with, it should not stop people from sharing resumes and then making it visible and etc. Right? See, the thing is, again, I want to reiterate, it's not about sharing resumes. Typically what happens in a large corporate like ours, so these would just go into multiple forwards, and then after some time it dies down. Nobody even bothers, or no one even remembers, including myself, I must tell you that, right? But so what really makes a difference is that if you can really I would say build a case for yourself. I'm talking for all the folks with MS who are the job seekers currently or in the future as well, right? So if you can build a case, let's say if I'm looking for a change, tomorrow I'm going to go into, I'm going to try in another organization, I will build a case for myself. Because unless I build a case for myself, right, so I don't think my resume will just go through very easily. So there are ways to build a case. I can have a separate conversation for the job seekers at a later stage. It's like a half an hour, 1 hour discussion as to how do you build a case? How do you make your profile rich? Right? So as a person with disability, so there are certain inputs that I can share with. So that if you can build a case, then I don't think your resume goes unnoticed very easily.
Right. Thank you, Vivek.
So just one very important additional aspect on this one piece, right? And this is where we have, while talking to different corporates, different organizations, which today are hiring people with disabilities. One of the challenges that also happens is when you earmark roles which are meant for people with disabilities, right? When you earmark roles that are meant for people with disabilities, what it also does, it restricts that there is only so much that so many roles that you have. Now, who are we to restrict roles? So one of the things that we have done exclusively in Microsoft is to ensure that we do a very thorough scrub of all job profiles that are posted to see if there is really a requirement for everything that you put in your job description. Because a lot of these jobs, when you talk about open employment, when you talk about us being open employers, equal opportunity employers, it is also about truly scrubbing all opportunities and seeing if it really requires all that you're asking for. For example, a lot of job, there are a lot of job templates that used to exist. That, if you need a job, we put in all these conditions. Reality is not everyone requires that. So instead of opening up jobs which are meant for disabilities, one of the things that a lot of corporate students are working on is opening up all jobs to everyone. Because what we did initially was, when we started hiring, we said that, let us focus on a disability hiring event, which is a good thing to do. But then in that way, are we going to do these disability hiring events? Or what we have done now is we have ensured that every hiring event that we go through, every position that we open up has to have a very diverse slate of employees. It has to, you cannot close any position today until unless you have a very diverse slate of candidates that you have considered. So that is one other aspect that we are looking at, specifically opening up all jobs. Because even within disabilities, there are different forms of disabilities which can and cannot. Even with people with MS, there are some people who can very easily function in a few roles very easily. So keeping that option with the employee and the candidate, and especially when you go for those interviews, call out very clearly what are the accommodations that you would need that would help you be successful, can be a great way to set you up for success. The other piece that I want to call out, specifically what has happened in the past 8 to 9 months, specifically with this pandemic, the world is no longer going to remain the same. And this is also going to be a big, big opportunity that I would want everyone to leverage going forward. Most of the organizations, as we resume back from the pandemic, are going to go into a hybrid workforce model. And this is, you would have heard many corporates already talking about it. And there are more and more organizations that have realized now that work from home is a possibility. How are we preparing ourselves in the next 6 months that if there is an option that allows me to work from home, that I can manage through the limitations that I have and still be effective enough? Because one of the things that we want is, when we do the entire hiring piece, our ask is we will not lower the bar, but at the same time, we will treat everyone on their ability and not on their disability. So that's one aspect that I just wanted to call out on that piece.
That's very important, actually, hiring based on ability and not disability. So we'll just take a few questions. I'm just a little conscious about the time. It's 5:08 and we have till 5:30, but we'll stop taking questions at 5:20. So there is Dr. Nonita Gangwani. She has already posted her question. Would you like to ask it? Or would you like to unmute yourself? Yes, go ahead, Dr. Nonita Gangwani.
So I can read that question. The question, okay, possibly, and I'm hoping that I'm reading that entire question right. What is the voice controller software? Because I cannot move my hands or fingers, and I have to make PowerPoint presentations, Excel, and voice, and only voice typing is there. But are there things that I can use? Can I use my nose tip, or is there any Microsoft software? First of all, Dr. Nonita, let me just salute you for your willingness to try and find a solution, right? Because it's very, very important. Now there is, yes, there is technology-based solutions available for.
Please go ahead. Vivek, yeah, go ahead, Vivek.
So one of the things that, we have introduced a lot of solutions. Some of it will require additional hardware that is needed to work with the software that you're working on. As we progress, one of the things that we are also planning to do is to run a few accessibility courses along with MSSI, and that is where we will possibly train you on features that you could use to make products more accessible, possibly sharing all tricks around, what are the different accessible features that are there in the products. Now, one of the things that we have realized is while our products are very, very accessible and we have put in a lot of effort to make our products more accessible, but the awareness of these accessibility features is sometimes very, very less. In fact, there is a feature in Windows ever since Windows 10, which is called eye gaze. I don't know how many of you have heard of eye gaze. Now, eye gaze, I just want to, I'll take maybe a minute just to talk about eye gaze. Eye gaze is a feature that was introduced with Windows 10, where you can control your entire computer through the gaze of your eyes only. You don't have to use your hand or anything, just through your eyes. If you could search for eye gaze Microsoft, it will show you how this entire software works. Windows 10, uses that feature. In fact, there's this player, Steve Gleason, who had an injury in his spinal cord. He was a celebrated, I think he was a soccer player.
Yes, in fact, Manish from American India Foundation yesterday talked about this. Yes, please go ahead.
So Steve had, he was a celebrated athletic person. He was one of the world's best. And all of a sudden, through an injury, he could not move his body. But what had not changed was the fact that Steve was still a father. He still wanted to control, he still wanted to talk to his kids. He still wanted to communicate with his kids. He still wanted him to control things how we are. And for that, we, while we worked with him, it was, I think during one of our hackathons, we built a software specifically for him where he could control his entire PC just through the gaze of his eyes. And eventually, once that feature worked, we incorporated that feature in Windows itself so that it's not just meant as a customized solution for one person, but it can be used by everyone. And this is exactly why organizations today need to have people with disabilities in their side so that they can build solutions like this that can make a difference to so many different people. And if you just search for that feature, eye gaze, it will show you how it works. And there are accessibility trainings available specifically for that feature as well.
Thank you. Shruti Kamra, do you want to go ahead? You've also posted your question. It says, hello, Vidya ma'am, can Wipro provide me a job right now? Well.
Hello, ma'am. This side Shruti Kamra.
Yeah, hi. Please go ahead.
Yeah. My question was this only, that can Wipro provide me a job right now only?
Okay, good. He has also already answered your
Shruti,
question.
at this point in time, but we can certainly try. Like I said before, disability is not the point of decision for us when we hire somebody, right? So we don't decide basis the disability, the person should get a job or not. It is only what helps us decide about the job when we look for a person is only the skills and the attitude, right? So we can certainly try. If there is a fitment, we can try.
Sorry to obstruct you, ma'am, but yeah, I have a good attitude. You don't need to worry about that, though.
Okay, Shruti, the thing is, what Vidya ji had mentioned, that you can definitely look at the Wipro careers. You can send a mail. You can even send us your resume. We can send it. But at the end of the day, you have to go through, and this is not only for one person in this group, but I'm speaking to all, that the whole process of recruiting is a step-by-step process. So one has to go through it. And it's only the beginning where you share the resume, but the entire process has to take a logical, it has to go through the logical progression, and there will be a logical conclusion to it. So as long as all of us in this group are aware that just sending a resume does not mean that we will get a job tomorrow. I think there are many links we will share. I will put Javed's email ID. We will share Vidya's LinkedIn ID and Vivek's LinkedIn ID for you guys to connect. Vidya, we can share Vidya's ID, which she mentioned. But at the end of the day, we all have to be very, very aware and cognizant that the entire process follows. It has to follow the process. Then only the chances are more sustainable and more permanent. That's one. The other is, if you have opened the door, which Vivek, you had mentioned and shared, if a success has happened and you prove to be a great productive person, you open the doors for so many more people with MS. And if you go away bitter, then you close the door for many more people with MS only based on your personal experience. So as long as we are clear about that, and we've got such wonderful people, and Vivek has said that he's willing to do a course on how to use various accessible features. Microsoft and MSSI can do a program together. Vidya has said she'll be more than happy to come and talk about how to build a case to get employable and be more employable. I think we can have many sessions, we can have smaller group discussions. The solutions which they have provided is always there for us to explore. So I think the sky is the limit. We cannot say, we can't do this. We can always find solutions together. Even in yesterday's discussion, a lot of people, both our speakers have said, we'll be happy to understand what MS people need. We will be happy to train. So I think the opportunities are definitely opened up. I think this is, we will need to take it up to its logical conclusion. I will be talking to all our chapter heads. I will be bringing these people as our resources. And I'm sure we will find the next step. I don't know where it will end, but I'm a very optimistic person. There are many optimistic people here in the group. In fact, I would like to mention that I'm seeing people like Dinesh, Anil, Sushma, Amit Palat, wonderful people who I have seen on Facebook and on LinkedIn and in Insta. They're such inspiring people that I have not seen so many inspiring people with MS. And I'd like them, they are joining us for the first time. So it's amazing to see this huge reach that we have expanded. And we have put some links here for all of you. Yes, Nonita, there will be trainings. Please look out on our website. We will post information. We will tell our chapters what's happening. Please stay connected with your chapters. They all send you monthly inputs. But before I end, I'd like to just bring one aspect, and I would like to leave you with that thought. And this is for employers as much as for employees, as much for Vivek and Vidya as much as it is for people with MS and their caregivers. When we apply, we are looking at jobs we are already thinking of our disability, and I'm being dispassionate here, and we are already setting ourselves certain boundaries that I should get a job because I'm disabled. But the message that I am hearing from all the corporate people and some of our own MS persons is, let's concentrate on our ability. Let's reinvent our new areas of work. Let's reach out for new solutions. And I'm sure we will find a way to overcome that. But the larger challenge today with MSSI and people with MS is that if you are suffering from invisible disability, we are not able to get disability certificate. We have gone through a training program with certain people with invisible disabilities. We also have had experience where they have been picked up for recruitment, but unfortunately, when they were being employed under the disability category, and the employer said, "Can we see your disability certificate?" They were like, "Oh, but I don't have a disability certificate because I didn't get one from the government." And then it goes back into the policy matter, because current assessment guidelines to issue disability certificate does not meet the real challenge that an MS person is facing. So we are now caught between the devil and the deep sea, that I have a disability, I know that, I want to get my job, but I need a disability certificate to get into a job. The government policy is not allowing. So that's one scenario. The other scenario is, okay, never mind. I don't want a job in the disabled job segment. Give me the job in the regular segment, but then I can't withstand the pressures of a regular employee expectation or employer expectation. So we started the campaign. We have submitted our recommendation to the government to revisit and review the current assessment guidelines. So we are doing a lot of things. We are living in hope. We live in the hope that it will be a better place for people with MS. We live with a hope that Microsoft and Wipro and American India Foundation and Train and all the people that we have got work together with us. Even pharma companies are willing to work with us, and the life will be better. The situation will improve, but we will never give up trying. So that's what I had to say. And I'll quickly do, and that was also like a sum up of what it's 5:21. And I would like to end by saying thank you to both our speakers, Vidya ji and Vivek ji, for coming and sharing your valuable insights. I would like to share all thanks. I would like to thank all our members. Some of you are still feeling like your questions haven't been answered, there is no future. Please don't think like that. MSSI is there together with inspiring people like you and your caregivers. We will change. It is a small step in the right direction, but we need your support. Don't feel disillusioned, don't feel dismayed. We will work to get our rightful place and things will be better. There is always promise on the other side. I would also like to thank my back-end team and Javed and Anjali and all of you, Sarthak, all of you who are helping me. I would also like to thank Sanofi Genzyme, who has helped us to put all these webinars together. I would also like to say here very categorically, Multiple Sclerosis Society of India does not endorse any drug. We do not align with any one particular pharmaceutical company. We only align with those organizations whose goal and vision is to improve the quality of life of people with MS. That's where we are together. So on that thoughtful note and with deep gratitude, I would like to say thank you and namaste.
Thank you so much, Renukaji and everyone. It was pleasure, being with all of you for the last 2 hours. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Vidya. Vivek, your last words. What's your last words?
Thank you very much. I am so inspired. I am looking forward to, helping in any which ways that we can, specifically looking forward to everyone also joining us for the accessibility courses that we do. Because I truly believe that A is about the training, B would be around practicing that and ensuring that you become competent with it. And we will do what it takes to ensure that, if we can make a difference, if we can support you in your endeavor and in your journey to be more employable, to be able to work around some of the challenges that you have through technology, we will go that extra mile to make that happen. Thank you very much today.
Thank you. Javed, will you please put your email ID? All of you people who would like to reach out to us to have a deeper discussion, it will help us put together more webinars. Please, Javed, just put your email ID in the chat box, copy it down, people.
Yeah, done.
Send your resumes. It's right there. It's Javed Hassan at mssociety.india.org. We will be happy to forward whatever we can to Vivek and Vidya and all your questions to our other two panelists. So have a wonderful Saturday and a wonderful Sunday. Stay safe and take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hello.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, Kavita, I saw your hand go up. Go ahead, Kavita. We'll take one more question.
Thank you for your time, Renuka. Quick question to Mr. Vivek and to Vidya, madam. Madam, I am also an MS person, and I've had MS for many years. I'm still an active worker. I work. My last assignment was with EY. So the thing is, like, the frustration is building up for all of us, where we have worked for many years, and MNCs have their own restrictions to employ people with disabilities. I have applied to many positions with Microsoft through LinkedIn, but have not received responses, or it has been negated. How do we all fight the how do we go about the system if the consideration is based on so many other conditions which don't actually qualify us to reach to that level? We are going through this. Our society is providing us systems and trying to reach out to people like you, but then this goes on and on. How is this going to ever be able become an open situation for us? I mean, we don't want all these terms like disabilities, nothing. We can put in.
Yeah, thanks, Kavita. This is a much longer discussion, which Vidya said she will have to take. We can definitely brainstorm on this. The solutions must be found together with corporate together. And it's a very pertinent question, Kavita, that you have raised, that to reach the right person, how do we get there? So I'll be happy to take this offline with you, Kavita, and connect you with Vidya, and you can have a longer discussion if that's okay with you, Vidya.
Absolutely fantastic. I'm happy to speak with her on a one-on-one and then answer her question. But only one input, Kavita, without getting into any details. Let's not generalize. Any organization at all, right? Saying that Microsoft or Wipro or anyone else, because like I said earlier, disability or MS is unknown to 99% of the population in the society that we live in, right? So, even if there is somebody who knows about it, they know, I don't mean to say the disability skilling organizations, but general public, right? So, even if they know about it, they see things in a very, very patronized manner, and they just don't know how to leverage on the potential of folks with disability. There are a lot of biases and a lot of challenges and, concerns around that. So let's not generalize. It's not about Microsoft. It probably it was about only one odd person or two odd people, right? So yes, what you're talking is that we do not have a system yet in the corporate to address a lot of these things. So that is something that, like Renuka said, it's a longer discussion. So we will have to have. But if you're looking at getting back to employment, I'm happy to talk to you one-on-one and then guide you accordingly.
Could you share your email ID, please? I have written.
I request Renuka to share that with you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.
Excuse me, may I come in? Vidya ma'am, Vivek sir, Renuka ma'am.
Okay, so we need to close it because I think our speakers should go. Who is next?
Renuka ma'am, it's me, Rancher from Chennai. I'm gonna ask a question regarding job role for one
Just
of my
one
friend,
second.
MS
Is
friend.
it okay to? Is Vidya, Vivek? Are you okay with staying for another 2 minutes, maybe?
But probably we'll just wrap it up in 10 minutes. It's 5:28, so 5:40 we can wrap it up.
Okay, fine. 5:40. Okay, fine. Cool.
Yeah, that's thank you. Thanks a lot. Ma'am, actually, one of my friend, MS friend, she is a single mother, and she's old only for around 40-45 age like that. She's good in communication. She is qualified of 10th class only. She's looking for a job. She can get any job, bro, in opportunity in corporate. Is any
100% yes. See, that's what, we have been saying that nothing really stops at all,
okay?
right? So I don't see a problem as long as that, so we have the skill that is required. See, again, let's not say that, that Wipro can hire everybody or Microsoft can hire everyone just because Vivek and I are talking right now to all of you. It doesn't work like that, right? So it has to be basis the matching. So if there is a match, why not? I would say, right? That is where people like Vivek and I pitch in within the organization, saying that educating them on MS and educating in terms of what needs to be done. And of course, we will take Renuka's help, MSSI's help in that context. So don't worry at all. What I'm trying to say is that, so like Renuka mentioned earlier, please do, share your resumes and do have clarity about what is the job that, so that people can do. Like, for example, I don't believe that, so let's say someone is an engineer, right? Someone has done their engineering by qualification. I don't believe that, all engineers can become a software programmers. I'm sure Vivek can, agree with me, right? So it's like saying, all people, those who do BCom, can only do, I mean, can become a excellent this thing, accountants, or they can work in account related profiles. No, it doesn't work like that. Qualification is different, skill is different, right? Skill comes only if you have practiced enough, and I would also say the course is different, right? So you may have done a training. I heard some of you people saying that, yes, I have done a training. But it doesn't really mean just because I have a certificate that, I have the required skill. Remember the ingredients that we spoke, right? So for you to really build the skill or develop the deep competency, the deep skill, whether it is about Java, whether it's about communication, whether it is about, customer support role, etc., etc. So what have we done? Right? So because have we done enough action? Has there been enough projects done? Has there been enough networking done with people those who are working in that kind of a role? Right? Vivek also earlier mentioned about, so there's a lot of research required. That's why I told earlier that this is a very, very long discussion. Having a degree certificate or a training certificate will not help you get a job. That's not the right way to do at all. There's a lot more to be done there.
Yeah. In fact, Vidya, I know you wanted to stay on till 5:40. Can you do us that hula hoop thing? Is it going to be difficult for you to
No,
organize?
absolutely not.
Okay, can you do it?
Yeah, why not? I can.
Okay, people, now please watch. I think this will be a fun way to go away to see.
Yeah.
Vidya
So,
doing her.
by the way, I do very basic stuff. So no exaggeration, nothing at all about it. So don't get so fascinated. You also can do it, I'm sure, if you practice it a little bit. Okay, I'm going to turn my laptop in a different direction. Just give me a second to do the adjustment.
And while you do that, ladies and gentlemen, you can go to the top bar and select the speaker view. You will only be able to see Vidya. Select the speaker view. Okay, go to the top right corner. You will see one speaker view. Just click on that. You will only see Vidya. And Shruti, please go on mute because we can only see your screen right now. Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Am I visible?
Yeah, but not. If you could lower your screen a bit because I can't see.
One sec. Yeah. Okay. Is this better?
Yes, it is. Yes.
All right.
Wow. Woohoo!
This is what it is. It's a very simple thing, but it takes a lot of time to get there.
My God. It's fantastic.
It's cool. If you can get the art, it's cool. Of course, I don't have too much of space here. So, I mean, there's a lot of tricks that we can do with this. I don't have that much of space here at all, right? Like, you could just be rolling things. So, not being right? Yeah, Yeah, but the waist hooping is something that is extremely comfortable. So you could just dance, you could do this, and etc. So that's it. So
Very
maybe
much.
next
Very
time I can show you
much.
some more things.
So look at. So this is for all our members. Look at how you can expand your boundaries. I mean, it's so inspiring to see you, Vidya, doing that hoop. I cannot. I used to do it in school. We have set ourselves limitations. So, but thank you. If you could lift your screen a little bit higher, if
Okay,
that's possible.
sorry.
Yep, perfect. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much then.